Greetings, fellow humans. Now, today we're going to talk about the penultimate book in the Dune series, Heretics of Dune. It's been a journey. But let's talk about this book. You know, what the fuck happened? That's my question. I mean, reading this book was a chore. It was a hassle. It was a drag. Okay? If you like this particular book, the fifth one, Heretics of Dune, if you like this book, please tell me why in the comment section. Because I have to tell you, I have to be honest, Heretics of Dune, as of right now, is the weakest book in the series. I mean, I was 20 pages in, I was 40 pages in, I was 100 pages in, and I just couldn't believe what I was reading. Okay, it was just a drag to get through this book. It gave me headaches. Okay, this book, in my opinion, is pointless. Okay, it's pointless. Anything of real value in this book happens in the last 50 pages. Okay, in the last 50 pages or so, that's when something important happens. The rest of the book, this is a 600 pages of pure monotony, of boredom, banality, right? And I have to say this again, Frank Herbert is not a bad writer, but this book was just just a waste of time, okay? It was a waste of time. I didn't get this book. I was, I was disenchanted. I was disappointed with this book. I don't know what happened. Heretics of Dune. If you have a cool cover like this, I mean, the content should be, of the same caliber. But I don't know what happened. The story, the characters, the plot, the narrative, whatever, everything in this book is just a hodgepodge of something. I don't know. This book is something. Okay. The previous four books, Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, they had their, you know, they shined in certain ways. This book is absolute garbage. This book is just a pile of manure. I don't know what happened. You see, this is what I do. You see, I'm a writer myself. And when I usually read a book that has this hype and then it turns out to be nothing but garbage, I think about the editor or editors that were involved in correcting the book, right? And I just wonder. I said the same thing about Stephen King's Doohickey. You know, exactly the same thing with Heretics of Dune. Whoever the editor was of this book, didn't she or he just look at this and just say, "Listen, Frank, you've been great. You've produced some good books, but I don't know how to tell you this. This book, it's a yawn. It's a sigh. I don't know, right?" So I usually like to picture, what did the editor think about this book, right? Because if I were the editor of this book in particular, I would have had some pointers to give Frank Herbert, because I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know. To me, it seems like he wasn't really that invested in this book. It seems like he just had to write another Dune book because of a contract. I don't know what happened. The editors didn't seem to care that much about this book at all. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of pages about nothing. About nothing. The God Emperor Leto II, aka Jabba the Hutt, aka Lord Slug, he has passed. It's been a couple of thousand years since he died, and you know, that's pretty much it. There's the Bene Gesserit, the Tleilaxu, the Ixians, the Space Guild, but there's nothing really here that really intrigues me. This book it's just a yawn. Okay, it's just a yawn. There is no real story here. There is no real character whatsoever in this book. All right, here's what happened. Okay, remember all those favorite characters that you loved so much? Paul, Leto II, Lady Jessica, Chani, Aaliyah, Ganima, maybe Stilgar, maybe Kynes, maybe Gurney Halleck, maybe Hawat, right? They're all gone, okay? They're all gone, they're all dead, right? They're gone. Forget about all your favorite characters. They're gone. They're never coming back. And what we have here is a cast of what I would like to call, uh, you know, second rate or third rate characters. Who are these people? I'm not invested in these people. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they do. I don't care about their struggles. I don't care about their goals. I don't care about their backstories. Who are these characters, bro? I don't understand what Frank was thinking, right? Right? So forget about all your favorite characters in the Dune series. All you have here is Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho, which makes yet again another reappearance as the Gola. Right? He is being resurrected yet again for hundreds and hundreds of times for thousands and thousands of years, and that's about it. I still don't understand why Dunkin' Donuts Idaho is still prevalent in this book in this book series. I don't get it. I don't get what Frank was thinking about. But let's move on, right? The first problem that I have with this book. Remember back in God Emperor of Dune at the ending, right? So uh, the Gola, Dunkin' Donuts Idaho, and Siona, they have this plan and they kill the God Emperor Leto. A laser is fired, the bridge collapses, the worm god he falls in a river and he dies basically, right? That's how God Emperor ends. And here's my problem with Heretics of Dune. We do not find out what happened afterwards. I'm very curious what happened afterwards because these two, Siona and Dunkin' Donuts Idaho, they killed the God Emperor Leto II, Lord Slug, Jabba the Hutt. They killed the tyrant of the known universe, right? And we do not find out what happens to them. Uh, I imagine that a lot of people would have celebrated what they have done, but yet again, the religious zealots, they would have had a problem with what Idaho and Siona have done, right? So we do not find out what their fates are after God Emperor. These two people, they killed the most powerful being in the universe, right? And we don't find out what happens to them. What's their fate? What's Siona's fate? She was hyped up in God Emperor like she was the new Paul Atreides or whatever, but we don't really find out anything that happens. Not really. So we begin this book, Heretics of Dune, with some random ass characters, right? The Bene Tleilaxu is still here. The Ixians are still making their machines, right? The Tleilaxu have somehow managed to make a synthetic spice, right? So the spice is not that expensive anymore. I mean, the Space Guild is so unimportant, so insignificant as a character, right? The Space Guild is a joke at this point. All right, the Space Guild is in the background here. It's mentioned here and there. It doesn't really matter. The Space Guild is nothing. Okay, when it comes to the plot, they're just mentioned here and there. Right, the dolphin people that are just taxi drivers in space, right? And then we have the Bene Gesserits, and the whole thing about this book is Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho, is yet again resurrected as a Gola, and we find out that they want to mate Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho, with a girl on Arrakis known as Sheena, and this Sheena character, she somehow has the ability to I wouldn't call it communication, but she has a way of I wouldn't even call it controlling, but there's something she can do to stop the sandworms from attacking. So whenever she's around, the sandworms they just stop, right? As if they are mesmerized by this little girl. So Sheena has this ability to quote communicate or control the worms. The worms seem to respond to her commands. Whatever the reason is behind this ability, we don't really find out. And this was the only thing that really intrigued me in Heretics of Dune. That this Sheena character had this ability to control the worms, and I thought, okay, she has to be an Atreides. Since the God Emperor dissolved, it means that all of the current sandworms they have, a pearl of his identity. Every sandworm has a pearl of Leto the Second's identity or essence, right? So I thought, okay, so this means that the sandworms are actually a bit sentient because they derive from the tyrant Leto. That means that they have some sort of intelligence, some sentience, right? So this was the only plot line that actually interested me in this book, but it doesn't really go anywhere. There are no real answers to this, and this is the only thing that actually was, I would say, intriguing about this book. Everything else is pure. It's pure hogwash. It's pure gibberish. I don't know what the author was thinking. I mean, this book is 95% uh, trash. Okay, it's trash. So we have this character, the Bashar, Miles Tegg, and we find out that he is, of course, an Atreides whatever as well, uh, and he is here to educate and take care of the Gola Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho. And you think that he is a minor character, but by the end of this book, this Miles Tegg character, he develops a special ability, a special power that pretty much makes him, you know, out of everybody's league. And yet again, what happens to him isn't really explained. It's not really explained what actually happens to Miles Tegg. He undergoes torture, and while under torture, he awakens this ability that makes him invulnerable. It makes him almost a god, and he can do whatever he wants. But he dies at the end. So that's that. Again, yet again, no explanation whatsoever with that, right? And then we find out yet again another plotline in this book is that after Leto the Tyrant, after he was killed, a lot of people they just went everywhere in the universe because Leto had a stranglehold on the universe. Nobody could do anything without his say so. So now that Leto is dead, a lot of people they just began spreading all over the universe, and I think that that movement is called the dispersion, right? So we find out that even Bene Gesserits just just left, right? They just left, and now we find out that all of these people that went away thousands of years ago, now they're coming back from the deep, dark recesses of the universe. So all of these people now, they're coming back from places unknown. And we find out that some of these former Bene Gesserits are back, and they have changed somewhat. They are the antagonists of this book. They are the arch enemy of the Bene Gesserit, and I think they are called the Honorable Matres or something like that. Right? They're sort of like Bene Gesserits, but from what I understand, they have mastered, the sexual uh, tactics and maneuvers. Right? They have mastered the act of sex, and they can control males with their sexual abilities, and they can control males with crazy orgasms or whatever, right? So basically, this new these honorable matres, they wanna own shit. They're the new kids on the block, and they don't like the Bene Gesserits, and the Bene Gesserits don't like these hoes, right? So that's pretty much the main conflict. Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho, the Gola, he awakens an ability by the end of this book, and he seems to be invulnerable to the sexual ability of these honorable matres for whatever reason. It's not really explained how he gains this ability. Allegedly, the Teilaxu have something to do with this, but it is not really explained yet again what really happens. This book is just it's just a drag, bro. And probably the only good thing that happens in this book, the only real good thing that happens in this book is by the end, because like I said, the real action happens in the last 50 pages or so. But by the end, we finally find out that planet Arrakis, aka Dune, aka Arrakis, has been obliterated by these honorable matres because they wanted to kill the Gola, right? So by the end, Arrakis is finally destroyed by these hoes. But of course, the Gola and the Bene Gesserits, they manage to escape, and they take a sandworm with them because Sheena controls the sandworm, and she brings a worm into the ship. So now the Bene Gesserits have a worm, and they're trying to bring it back to their HQ, and they're trying to make their homeworld, the Bene Gesserit homeworld. They're trying to make it the new Arrakis, right? And that's pretty much the book. I mean, it's just a hodgepodge. It's a chaotic. It's a meandering story, right? I mean, we got hundreds and hundreds of pages of characters just trying to escape, and they're on this road, and they're on these ships, and they're being attacked, and they're trying to evade attacks. And let me tell you about the snow, and let me tell you about the road, and let me tell you about the dirt, and let me tell you about these technologies and these vehicles. And that's pretty much hundreds and hundreds of pages of this book. And yet again, I don't know what Frank Herbert was thinking. This book is atrocious. It's not interesting. Right? It's not interesting. There are bits and pieces here and there that kind of stir your interest, but overall, wow, it's a dumpster fire basically, right? So now these hoes, these honorable matres, these different Bene Gesserits, now they are the main antagonist. And I've begun reading the final book, Chapter House Dune, and we find out that these crazy bitches, these honorable matres, they're crazy. They're blowing up planets. They're killing Bene Gesserits to the left, right, and center. So they are now the new antagonists, right? And in all of this, while all of this is happening, I keep on wondering, what's up with the Ixians? What's up with the Beni Thalaxu? What's up with the Space Guild? Because they are lacking as characters, they're lacking as antagonists, they're not interesting. What are their goals? We don't know. The Ixians they're making machines, they're making technology. The Teilaxu, they're, mostly concerned with genetic engineering, right? They're the ones that are creating the Gola. Like I said before, the Space Guild is just it's a intergalactic taxi service. Basically, the Space Guild. Out of all the characters in this book, they're just really not there. They're paper thin. You know, they're lacking. All of these characters are lacking, as well as the plot line. So that's basically it. I don't have a lot to say about this Heretics of Dune. Yet again, this is the weakest book so far. I hope the last one, Chapter House, will be better. It seems to me like Frank just had to write this thing. I don't sense no interest or excitement from the writer, right? So some things happen in this book. It's whatever. It's whatever. Nothing is really explained. The Sheena thing, she can control the sandworms allegedly. That's not explained. And here's another problem that I have with. I have a problem with this need to make every character of worth be some sort of secret Atreides, right? Everybody in this book is either an Atreides or a combination of an Atreides and a Harkonnen or a Corino or right? You know, not everybody needs to be an Atreides. Okay, I get it that the Bene Gesserits are manipulating the genetics and the bloodline, whatever. Okay, you can't make every noteworthy character, an Atreides. Okay, you can't make every fucking character a secret Targaryen. Not every character has to be, an Uchiha, and not every character has to have Senju DNA. Okay, this is bad writing, in my opinion. That every character that is special, that has a special ability, he or she has to be this secret bloodline. Look at me, I'm a Targaryen. Look at me, I'm an Atreides. Right? This has to stop, and this is some advice to writers. Okay, you gotta stop with these bloodlines. Not every character has to be an Uchiha. Okay, not all of them have to have this special DNA. Right? Whatever happened to the ordinary underdog that has no special genetics, has no special abilities, he or she just strives on and accomplishes things, by their own powers. Okay, because it seems like the Atreides DNA has some special woo woo mojo, right? Everybody that's an Atreides, they got that special good shit, right? And it's becoming annoying, right? It's becoming annoying that every time a new character is introduced, I'm just wondering, well, he has to be an Atreides, obviously, right? What else, right? Oh, this is a really interesting point that I want to make. So now we find out that the Bene Gesserits, they really don't want to create another Kwisatz Haderach because of Paul and then because of Leto II. So now they do not want to create another Kwisatz Haderach because, you know, uh, Paul, Paul Muad'Dib, and then his son Leto, they were a disaster for the Bene Gesserits, and they're so afraid that this phenomenon might repeat, that they do all they can to avoid it, right? But here's something that I caught on, and I hope that this really doesn't happen. But what it seems to me is that one, Miles Tegg, when he awakened this ability, and he's an Atreides, mind you, I thought immediately, I thought after finishing this book, I thought, okay, so Miles Tegg is a candidate to be the next Kwisatz Haderach because he has some crazy powers, right? And then another candidate is of course Dunkin' Donuts Idaho, okay, because he also has some strange powers. And not only that, listen, there are subtle hints, especially in this book, that Dunkin' Donuts Idaho might be the next Kwisatz Haderach. And I don't know how I feel about that. When I kind of figured that out, I was just a bit depressed because if you watch my reviews of this book series, you will know that I dislike Dunkin' Donuts Idaho, and I do not understand this obsession that the author has with them. And of course, because Dunkin' Donuts Idaho is a Gola, he has been reincarnated many times, but he only has he only has his memories, right? His previous incarnations memories, which would make him a bizarre Kwisatz Haderach, because we know that the Bene Gesserits have the memories of previous Bene Gesserits, and then we know that Paul Muad'Dib and Leto, they had all the memories disposable, available, all the memories of everybody that ever lived, right? So Dunkin' Donuts Idaho would be an interesting Kwisatz Haderach because he would have only his memories, right? So these are the two candidates for the next Kwisatz Haderach. And as I said, I began reading the final book, Chapter House, and it seems like Miles Tegg and Dunkin' Donuts Idaho, one of them will be the next Kwisatz Haderach. And frankly speaking, I really don't care, right, about these characters. But it was a bit amusing to me when I figured out that maybe Idaho will be the next Kwisatz Haderach. It just doesn't make any sense to me why this character is present in every book. I just don't get it, right? And that's pretty much it. I really don't have anything else to say. The Teilaxu have made a synthetic version of the spice, so the spice melange is no longer this very expensive, very rare commodity or product. Now everybody can get it because it is artificial. So the spice melange pretty much doesn't really matter anymore. Uh, all of the sandworms are dead except the one that has been saved by Sheena. And of course, Arrakis and the Fremen, they're over. Which I thought that the destruction of Arrakis would be more dramatic in a way, right? It would stir something in me as a reader because you know, but it doesn't, right? When I read that Arrakis Dune was destroyed, I just moved on, and all the characters move on as if the destruction of Dune, the planet, is absolutely inconsequential, right? This was the planet where the sandworms were the apex predator, right? This is where Paul Muad'Dib came and became, you know, the Lissam Al Gaib, the Kwisatz Haderach, and then he had his son Leto, which became the Tyrant. So there's a lot of history on this planet. Dune, the planet, should have been a very special uh, place. The planet itself should have been not a developed, but a intriguing, mystical character, right? So the environment itself should have been a mystical, important character, and I just felt nothing when Dune was destroyed. And now we find out that the Bene Gesserit, they're gonna make their own planet, the next Dune. So it doesn't really matter, you know. Nothing really matters in this book series I have discovered while reading it, right? There's nothing really. The problem with this series so far is that I just don't feel attached to the story, to the characters. I just don't care, right? It's a disappointment, right? I feel like this book series had more to offer, but something happened in the process, right? Oh yeah, I'm gonna end this review with this. Let me tell you something to all of you aspiring writers. I have written 2 books, published them, and I'm gonna tell you why this Heretics of Dune fails as a novel. Here's why this book sucks so much, right? So we had 4 books with all of these characters that you might like, Paul, Jessica, whatever, and the Harkonnens. In this book, the only familiar character is Dunkin' Donuts, Idaho. And I would suggest that I'm not the only one that doesn't care about his character. So all of those characters that you once loved, they're not in this book. There is no real familiar character in Heretics of Dune, and that is why it fails as a novel, because I'm not interested as a reader in the story, in the quest, in the journey, in the trepidations of these characters. I don't care about these characters. Who's Terraza? Who's Lucila and Otrade? Who are all these characters? I don't care about these characters, right? And then there's a priesthood on Arrakis, and then there's some guy from the Tleilaxu, right? I mean, who are these people? These are nobody. They're nobody. They're not characters. They're not beloved characters. None of these people are Paul. None of these people are Chani, right? Or Stilgar, right? They're not Duke Leto. Nobody cares about this character. That is why this book fails, right? The only saving grace, the only thing that could have saved this book, it should have been Sheena and Idaho. These 2 characters should have saved this book. The author should have made us as readers care about the fate of Sheena and Idaho, but he didn't. So I, as a reader, am completely disappointed by Sheena and Idaho and everybody else. I don't care about this book. This story, these characters, they are absolutely nothing. This is a miscellaneous piece of something that kind of resembles the previous books, right? Uh, and another thing, this book is called Heretics of Dune. I don't know why. Uh, Maybe because of the dispersion, but at the end, I don't know. Somebody says that Miles Teg he was a heretic, right? And I don't get it. I don't get this whole heretic thing. Reading this, it was just awful. And I and I'm gonna say it right now. The fact that I don't really understand what's really happening in this book is because I just zoned out on occasion, because that's how boring this book is. And maybe I lost a few plot threads along the way because I just could not keep my attention and my concentration on this fucking narrative because it's so boring, it's so dull and bland, right? I was fantasizing about something else while reading this book, and that's just awful. You know, a book should keep you hooked. A book should make you be interested in the characters and their journey, but Heretics of Dune does none of that. So, right, this is the worst book in the series by Frank Herbert, right? And hopefully, the last one, Chapter House Dune, let's hope that that one will be better. Let's just hope that that one will save this series, right? Because this one, it's just I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I don't care. That's basically it. I don't care about this book, about this story anymore. First of all of the important characters are gone. They're dead. They're never coming back. See ya. And now we have a new cast of characters that nobody gives a fuck. Who are all these people? I don't care. Right? And thirdly, all of these plot threads that are going on in this series, they're not really explained. We don't know what the Thalaxu is doing. We don't know what the Ixians is doing. Right? There's all this religion nonsense that's going on in the background. All of the events in this book are trivial, right? They're trivial. They're bland. I don't care about them, right? It's a shame because this book series could have been amazing. I know that it is a favorite of many people, of many readers, but I just don't get it. Now, that's not to say that Frank Herbert doesn't have his moments where he shines. The previous four books, they were all right. They were not amazing, but they were fine. They were decent. They were even great at points. But this book, I really don't have anything good or positive to say about this book. I mean, Heretics of Dune, what the fuck happened? Jesus, what happened? Right? That's it. That is it. What happened? See ya.